Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Water Service Line Inventory Public Information Meeting, part of the Environmental Protection Agency's Lead and Copper Rule Revision Initiative. My name is Yadley St. Fort, and I am the civil engineer for the City of North Miami and the project manager for this initiative. And we have with us
Darren Lloyd. I'm a supervisor at the water treatment plant.
and also the water treatment plant laboratory director. It's important to note that. Today's agenda, we're gonna do a quick introduction and background on the lead and copper rule. We'll go over the lead and copper rule revision, and we'll take you through the material verification test instructions, what to expect in the future, tips to reduce lead exposure at home, and the resources for more information. So, the objective of today's meeting is to explore the new Environmental Protection Agency's requirements, learn how to test your property's water service line materials, and learn about our water service line inventory survey and how to participate in it.
So North Miami's water system consists of about 300 miles of water service lines, and it covers 13 square mile area. That includes not only the city of North Miami, but also unincorporated Dade, Miami Shores, and Biscayne Park. We also have the capability to supply water to the city of North Miami Beach in an emergency. We get our water from the Biscayne Aquifer, which is a shallow layer of permeable limestone, and it stretches from Monroe, Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach counties. Once the water is pumped from the aquifer, it is sent to the city's water treatment plant, where we use a lime softening process to treat and provide the highest quality drinking water to its customers. Our operators perform testing every hour. We also have daily tests, monthly tests, quarterly tests, annual tests, and tri-annual tests. Your water is heavily regulated. We meet or exceed all federal, state, and local regulations, as well as the city's quality standards. We also report to the Florida Department of Environmental Protection and also the Florida Department of Health. And one of the things that we do test for is lead. If you want further information about our water, we have our Consumer Confidence Report, which is available at the city's website at northmiamifl.gov. And so with the extensive testing, we also test for things we're not required for, but we try to do the best we can. And we are also running a pilot right now to see if we can improve our process and to provide even better quality water. So about lead. Lead is a common metal found in the environment, and it's used in the manufacturing of numerous products. In the 50s, lead was commonly used as a water service line. So the water line coming into a home, a residence, or a building. The EPA prohibited the use of lead in plumbing pipes, solder, fixtures, and so forth in 1986 through the Safe Drinking Water Act. Now, our city's water does not contain lead once we pump it out and we treat it, and the city's distribution pipes are not lead. And the issue comes is when that final stretch of pipe going into your home and the fixtures inside your home as well. So the city's water does not contain lead. We test for that, and we have 0 lead. So the sources of lead. Now, we are responsible, the city is responsible for providing high-quality drinking water, but we cannot always control the type of materials that you use in the plumbing in your home or around your home. And lead can actually leach out from the pipe into the water. Think of it kind of like tea, right? If you have mint leaves, the flavor of the leaves go into the water. That actually happens with metals as well. So lead can enter the drinking water through plumbing materials that contain lead, and the lead can corrode, and that can increase the process where it seeps into the water. So even though a fixture or a faucet might be technically said to be lead-free, they all contain, not all, sorry, some of them contain very minute amounts of lead that can pose a problem. Certain things are made of brass or nickel, they're chromed. All of those elements can have very small quantities of lead that can leach out into the pipes. Homes built before 1986 are more likely to have plumbing that contains lead, as they were built before the ban. And the most common problem today is, like I mentioned before, brass and chrome-plated brass faucets and plumbing with lead solder. I just want to point out that in this picture, this would be the water main, which is a large pipe that's in the street where every home taps their water from. And this would be the line going into the home. So when we mention a service line, this is what we're talking about. The line coming from the distribution system to your water meter and into your home. We're going to reference that a little later. So the EPA decided that they were going to regulate lead. And so in 1991, they came up with the lead and copper rule, which requires water systems to monitor for lead and copper within the customer's taps, not just in our system, but at the customer's faucet. And they established a lead action level, which is 15 parts per billion. And that is how you say that right there. That's 15 parts per billion. What that means is a common way to demonstrate it would be 15 drops of lead in a tanker of water. That would be 15 parts per billion parts. So that's what that means. That's very minute, and that is our what the EPA decided in 1991 was the action level. And what that means is that action must be taken once your samples reach that level. And so with that, the utility would usually have to take some sort of corrosion control procedures. They would have to inform the public that they've hit that action level, and they may have to replace system-owned portions of service lines that are under their control. In my almost 20-year career at the water treatment plant, we have never exceeded the action level. We haven't even come close. Our levels are so good that we are actually on a reduced monitoring requirement. So we went from 60 samples that we had to take to 30, and certain other things we didn't have to do because we had a record of proven good water. So let's talk about Flint. So in 2014, there was a crisis in the city of Flint, Michigan, that gained national attention. The drinking water in Flint was found to be contaminated with lead due to an increase in the corrosivity of the water, which caused lead from aging pipes to leach into that water supply. Following this crisis, the EPA began work to revise their lead and copper rule with expert input from the National Drinking Water Advisory Council, the American Water Works Association, and the public. In 2021, the EPA released the lead and copper rule revisions, which are specifically aimed at protecting against the risk of lead exposure in drinking water and preventing future water quality crises like what happened in Flint. So we are not reacting to a crisis within North Miami. We are being proactive to prevent anything like that happening here. So part of the lead and copper rule revisions, they sought to protect children and communities from the risk of lead exposure by actually targeting those facilities, schools, childcare, daycare, and seeking to remove any lead that is found within those systems. And we are working with the EPA to get to the point where they will remove any lead-containing infrastructure entirely, which includes the service lines. We're going to play this video.
Hey everybody, Adam here, asking you to play an important role in protecting your drinking water quality and your health. The science is clear, there is no safe level of lead, but 10 million lead pipes, just like this one, provide drinking water, which threatens the health of every American every day by leaching lead into our water. That's why EPA is working with local water companies and utilities to identify these lead pipes as part of a nationwide inventory effort. Working together, we can ultimately remove them from our water system. But here's the thing. Before replacing those pipes, water companies must first know where these pipes are located. And that's where you come in. We need your help in identifying the materials of these pipes, whether it's on your property or in your home. This means providing access and information about your water line when your water company requests the information. These requests may be made in person, via text, email, or in the mail, or even with flyers and door hangers. EPA has a vision of lead-free water systems for a safer future for all of us in this country. So let's work together in this important first step to identify these lead service lines to protect our health and the health of future generations.
So part of the first step towards removing any of these lead lines is that we have to create an inventory of all of the water service lines within the city and identify which ones are lead so that we can target those and remove them. So in addition to the inventory, the lead and copper rule revision requires that water systems to establish a plan to replace those lead service lines. Within those service lines, there is a customer side and there is the utility side. And the city is working on securing funding from the federal and state agencies to replace the utility side of the service lines and offer financial assistance for our residents to replace their side of the service lines. The LCRR also introduced additional sampling requirements for schools and licensed childcare facilities. And so we will be testing our schools and we will be testing childcare facilities, and we will target those faucets, those drinking fountains, ice machines, all of those things. If any of those things have lead in them that is actually seeping into the water, we will make sure to have those removed. A new, previously I mentioned that in 91 there was an action level, and now we also have a trigger level. So at a lower level of 10, we have to take extra precautions. So before we get to the 15, if you hit 10, you have to, there's a series of steps that you have to take, including notifying the public. So the water service line inventory. So what is a service line? So I've mentioned before that within the street is your water main, which is just a large water pipe in the street, and tapped off from there is a line that runs into your house. There's a water utility side, which usually goes a little bit past the sidewalk, and then there's the resident side, which is from there to the home. Usually just past the sidewalk, around that spot where it mentions a curb stop here, that is usually where your water meter is within North Miami. These are what we need to determine what these materials are made of, what exactly is this pipe made of. And in the past, they have used lead lines, like we mentioned, from the 50s. So here are some common pipe materials. So our first one there is lead. You can see that it has a silverish color, a dull silverish color. Lead pipes are known to have these bulbs on them, because that's actually how they were attached with melted solder. Next is galvanized metal. As you can see, it doesn't have this bulb. It uses thread instead. This is basically a form of iron, you can say, or steel. The next one is copper, and this is very different. As you can see, it's brown. Sometimes, it's the color of a penny, so it could be, if it's just put in, it's usually nice and shiny, but after a while, it's brown, sometimes even greenish color. And then you could have plastic, and we all know what plastic looks like. So the EPA in the Safe Drinking Water Act of 1986, they prohibited the use of lead in pipe, solder, flux, and other materials. Florida didn't implement that provision until January 18th of 1989 with a 2-year implementation period. So we're looking at homes built on or after 1991 are far less likely to have lead lines. So the water service line inventory. As part of the inventory, we will categorize both the utility side and the customer side of each water service line within our jurisdiction. So our categories are lead, which is the material that we're after. But there's also galvanized that requires replacement. So if there was a galvanized pipe that was or is attached to a lead pipe, that is also an issue. The lead has, it's possible that the lead has leached into the galvanized pipe. So even if you had a lead pipe and you removed it, if you have galvanized left over, you need to remove that as well, just to be safe. Then we have lead status unknown. That is, if we do not have a record of what a service line is made of. And then we have non-lead, which is for all of those non-lead materials. So North Miami's inventory is underway. We are preparing to submit our initial inventory to the FDEP and FDOH next month, and it will be updated annually as we get new information. The initial inventory is based on a thorough review of construction records, plumbing codes, record drawings, design plans, and as-built. We have not found any confirmed lead service lines in our inventory as of now. But we do have a lot of unknown service line materials that we will be working to verify in the field with our staff and with your help. Help us be part of the solution. We have created an online survey that you can complete at home to help us fill in the gaps in our inventory. First, you'll need to verify what your service line is made of. And if you already know what your service line is made of, please go to our website and submit your results. The online survey will ask you for your contact information, property information, service line material, and a photo. We really want you to upload a photo. So how could you determine what your service line material is? There are a few ways you can find out what your service line is made of. One option is to hire a licensed plumber. That could basically remove all doubt if you don't feel comfortable. Or you could follow some steps at home to make the determination yourself. All you would need is a magnet, like a refrigerator magnet, and something you could scratch with, like a coin, your keys, a screwdriver, something along those lines. The EPA also offers an online tool called Protect Your Tap. All of these links are at the city's website. So the first step would be to find your water meter. Within the city, most meters are outside. Most of them will look like this, and they will have water meter on there. Sometimes this smaller lid in the middle is metal. If you open this lid, you will see the meter inside, and you should look and see if the meter says gallons. If it's gallons, it's water. If it says, kilowatts, that's electricity. And cubic feet is gas. So you're looking for gallons on the dial. And so another way you can find your meter is if you look on the side of your house and you notice that there's a hose bib that also has another valve on the line. And you see how this line comes up and then goes inside? Usually that is your shutoff valve. And if you follow that line and you just go out to the street, usually to the sidewalk, your meter will be somewhere over here. If this is at the back of your house, then your meter might be towards the alley. So once you've determined where that line is, the metal you're going to look at is whatever goes inside your house. So in this example, this is a basement where the water line came in through the ground. This is more typical for Florida. And you want to test this line here going into your home. And you can test all of it, and just to be sure. So these are the areas that you want to make sure to test. And make sure you examine all of the pipes. And so these are our materials: a magnet, something to scratch with like a coin or a screwdriver. So the lead lines are usually dull, like this one here. It's a silver gray color, and they often have that bulb. Galvanized pipes, we've discussed this before. So lead is easy to scratch. You can scratch it with a screwdriver or a coin, and it will be very shiny underneath the scratch. But it is not magnetic. Galvanized pipe is not that easy to scratch, but it is magnetic. And so that's where the magnets come in. And we can do a visual test for copper and plastic. Here are some other pictures. So lead is not magnetic, galvanized metal is magnetic, and copper and plastic is not magnetic. So if a magnet sticks to it, then you know it's galvanized metal and you're good. If it doesn't stick, then you need to make sure that it's not lead by scratching it. And it's easily scratched, and the scratch is very shiny, and most likely that is lead. Here's an example of scratching a lead pipe. And the galvanized pipe, you can see it was scratched. It does not scratch that easily, and it's not as shiny as the lead. And if you scratch the pipe and it's copper colored, then it's copper. If it's penny colored. Now, once you have your picture and you know what the material of your service line is, you go to our city's website and you can take our survey. So we're just asking for a little information, your name, your phone number, your email. Then you would type in your property address. When you type it in, it should geolocate to your house. If you can just double check to make sure that your home pops up. And then there's a little bit more information about your property. Then we want you to answer, what is this water service line material? Galvanized, copper, plastic, unknown, or other. If it's unknown, we will have to come and verify. And then at this point where it says add a photo, we would like you to include a photo of your service line so that we can get that for you. And that photos, and then you just click submit. And that is it. So what to expect in the future? Coordination in the coming months, we would appreciate your cooperation as our Public Works Department works to continue verifying the materials of the lead status unknown service line. We will also make the results of the inventory available online for you to access. Stay tuned with the city as we progress through this effort for more information on how to access the inventory. Over the next few years, we will be mailing annual reminders to households for which our records show as having lead, GRR, or lead status unknown service lines. These reminders are designed to keep awareness on the risk of lead exposure and encourage residents to have their service lines replaced, if necessary, so that we can contribute to the EPA's goal of a nationwide lead-free water system. We're going to be increasing our tap sampling efforts at schools and childcare facilities according to EPA regulations. Our sampling plan is being developed so that we can sample all elementary schools and licensed childcare facilities at least once during the next 5 years. We will be making improvements to our water system to replace lead service lines if we find any. So please make sure to check your lines. We'll help you replace it if you find it. You will be notified prior to us doing work in your area, and we will make efforts to coordinate with you to replace your side of the service line at the same time we replace the utility side. You can also expect more information about financing options for those looking to replace their service lines. Okay, some tips to reduce lead exposure. So if you think, or if you do find a lead service line and you would like to reduce your exposure before it is replaced, here are some tips to consider. If you're using the water for drinking, cooking, or for baby formula, try to use the cold water line. Hot water kind of increases the leaching of the lead from the water. regularly clean your faucet screen, which is also called the aerator. So every faucet has this, the aerator on there that you can unscrew, and there's usually a screen that you can clean. That's actually something you should do at least once a year. But if you're concerned about having a lead service line, that is something that you need to do regularly. Consider buying a water filter. Make sure that the filter mentions that it filters lead. Most good filters do, but just make sure that it actually says lead on the box, so that it's certified to remove lead. Do not boil the water. Boiling water does not remove lead. In fact, it can concentrate the lead. So if you had a gallon of water and you boiled it down to a cup, you've just taken what was in the gallon and concentrated it to a cup. So boiling does not reduce lead. Flush your pipes, run your tap. Consider that, especially if you come back from a trip and the water's been sitting there, or when you first buy a house, turn everything on and let everything flush out. And you could also have your water tested by a lab to see if there's any lead content. Resources for more information. You could, we have the website here for the EPA, epa.gov/safewater/lead. We also have these at our North Miami's website. Our consumer confidence report that has all of our water quality results. We also have printed materials available online about the sources of lead that reviews some of the ways to avoid lead in the water that I've mentioned. And if you have any questions, you can always contact us through the website, phone, or email.
Before we end, I would like to clarify a statement made by Darren earlier. The City of North Miami will not be financing the replacement of service lines on the customer side. What we will do is assist you in obtaining financial assistance by researching into the different sources of these financial assistances and providing those information to you. In the next month, in the coming month, you will be receiving a lot of information from us in your mail regarding the service line inventory. So we encourage every single one of you to go online at the North Miami website, and navigate towards the Public Works page, and from there, take our survey and provide us with the information that we need in order to have our city lead-free, or know that we are definitely 100% lead-free. Thank you, and have a wonderful evening.